Hey, Seth, you messing around with a green screen? No, that's actual stuff behind me. We're in West Palm Beach for Astros spring training. Their game got rained out today, so Sean and I drank beer and worked out in the garage gym at this Airbnb. And by that, I mean I did 3 sets with 135. First time I've done a barbell bench in a long time. It was worth it. Good burn, good burn. I'm not going to tell you how hard it ended up being, how much harder. Not going to be hard for Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, who weighs about 340 pounds. And I know a lot of people hear that and they think, no, DeMeco wants smaller, sleeker, faster guys. This guy's different. You're going to watch some of these plays and you're going to think there's no way in hell this guy weighs 340. He's been mocked to the Texans a fair number of times at number 25. I've got a feeling that after the combine, he's going to rock it up. There's going to be at least a few teams that are really intrigued by his combination of size and strength and speed and everything else, like Jalen Carter. You know, Jalen Carter would have gone a lot higher if he didn't have that vehicular issue that he had last year. Retired row here again. Yes, combine is greater than spring training. They both got look. Look. We don't have to name favorites amongst our children, even though we all want to. So it's still nice out here, despite the fact that it's overcast and it was raining. It wasn't raining enough to cancel the game. BetUS, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring the video. Oh my goodness, I have to add I need to add them down here. There we go. There's BetUS. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring the video. They have a casino now. So if you like slots action, if you like live dealers, you can sign up your way to massive jackpots with BetUS Casino, and they've got amazing deals. 200% sign-up bonus right now, up to $5,000. 250% crypto sign-up bonus, up to $5,000. So if you like all the things that a casino provides, but you want to do it online, go to BetUS, take advantage of those bonuses that they have right now. So 340-pound, I can't believe that he weighs 340 pounds. 340 pounds, let's look at Kenneth Grant here. Start right from the beginning. He's lined up, head up in a 2 technique on that offensive guard. Nice arm over. He's got really good hands. I mean, he didn't have to redirect there. We're going to see some instances of him redirecting here. 3 technique this time. Align tight. I've seen some people say that he doesn't have great get-off. I think in Michigan they ask him to read and react a good amount, so there's times where he's not firing off the ball. But when they do ask him to fire off the ball and blitz, he gets his first step down really quickly, uses his hands really well. He's reading there, and then this is important. He's patient. He waits, throws, makes the tackle. And he looks a lot better than he did the previous year. I think some of the scouting reports I've seen of him have kind of slowly been modified to where he wasn't given a lot of credit for his technical proficiency. I've been really impressed with how he uses his hands. All right. Head up on the guard again. Okay, this is a tough, man. This little slap block, this is the biggest pain in the ass in the world. So he's right there. He's in a 2-eye. He's inside shade. He's got that A gap between the center and the guard that he's responsible for. So imagine as the guard reaches to the inside and then the center, there is no A gap. The A gap disappears. So it takes a lot of discipline to get that left hand up into the shoulder of the guard and then press back. And because the A gap has disappeared, you just put that guard's body in the A gap. That's exactly what you want to do. And he shows a lot of discipline in that regard. Here, again, he's not firing off. He's reading and reacting. So watch the guard, and he just slips him, redirects, makes the tackle. Head up, 0 technique on the center. Boom. Club, swim. Gets his hands on a lot of balls. I didn't have any of these. Gets his hands on a lot of footballs. Gets his hands up in the lane. He's like a beefy JJ Swat. Again, hands in the breastplate. Gets a little, doesn't press real well. Oh, no, but he swims really quick. Man, he's got great hands. Again, quick swim. Running a twist inside. So watch this. This is another coaching point. He's patient on the quick swim. So he's engaging with the center. He just wants to occupy that center while that other defensive tackle slices inside. And there's an opening there because he occupied the center. So he was patient with it, didn't betray it with his eyes, redirects, comes around, makes a nice hit on the quarterback. Head up on the center again. This is a tougher one in zone when these offensive linemen are running laterally. Being able to keep your feet and keep your A-gap is a really good thing and really hard to do for bigger guys. Typically guys that are 350 pounds don't do this part of the game really well, and I think you get better at it in the NFL. And remember, if you're worried about his 340 pounds, DeMeco likes to rotate these guys. He's just got real burst, discipline, keeping his gap and then making the play. Some of the negatives, I would say, people say, okay, for a guy his size, sometimes he gets driven or doesn't hold his ground well on double teams. I can see that. I think he's got a tendency to play a little bit higher. He's really strong and he's going to test really well. But when you look at him anatomically, it's kind of like an apple on toothpicks. He's got skinnier legs than you would expect. I don't worry too much about that because of two guys. One, Vince Wilfork had that same physique, and Vince Wilfork got great push up the middle as a defensive tackle. Obviously very good against the run, and he could go sideline to sideline. He had the athleticism, and it's not so much that I think he's any worse than a lot of defensive tackles in the NFL or in college play with a higher pad level, and then they learn real quick in the NFL to play lower. So I don't see a lot of negatives in him. My biggest negative is that I don't think he's going to end up making it all the way to 25. Seth, I formally ban you from talking about anything other than fixing all 5 positions of the offensive line. I told the story today on air, and it was this. People wonder, okay, why did they keep all the assistant coaches and just get rid of Bobby Slowick? Is it as simple as, okay, Bobby Slowick somehow was the one bad thing on that offense? I played for Gary Moeller one year as my defensive coordinator, former, ironically enough, Michigan coach. And he took over a staff that had a bunch of veteran assistant coaches on it. And Moeller, he was awesome as a guy. He was a great motivator, gave great speeches. He did not know a thing about the NFL. He'd been out of college for a couple years by the time Coughlin made him the defensive coordinator for the Texans or for the Jaguars, and he just didn't know what he was doing. And there's only so much assistant coaches can do when you've got a defensive coordinator who's flat out unprepared for the role. And I think it might have been as bad as that with Bobby Slowick when it came time for him to adjust to adjustments after teams had an entire offseason to look at what they like to do and what Bobby's tendencies were in pass protection, and they gamed him, and Bobby couldn't adjust. So it's very possible. I've seen it myself. Like my defensive line coach, John Pease, it was in the NFL for decades and decades. There was nothing he could do about some of the positions that Gary Moeller was putting us in on defense. And I don't say that to try to bash Gary Moeller or anything. He wasn't prepared for it. The same way I don't like to bash Bobby Slowick because I think he's a super smart dude, but he was just not prepared for that role. It was a bad hire ultimately. It was a bad hire by DeMeco Ryans, and you just got to hope that Kaylee makes a difference. I say all that to say there were things with the offensive line, I think, that went above and beyond the individual play of the players because all of those guys are capable of playing better than they did. I've seen it. I've seen instances of it at the very least, and I've seen some of them play much better for the course of the entire season. So it's not as bad on the personnel front as you fear it might be. I don't know how much improvement can be made. I don't know what Kenyon Green really can be as an NFL player. They're going to give him one more chance this year. I don't know if Shaq Mason is completely washed. It looked like he did at times last year. I think they're going to add to it. I think they're going to improve. They're going to make at least one improvement on the interior offensive line. But it's not as cataclysmically bad on the talent side as it felt last year watching. And that's me being, you guys know, I don't pull punches. I don't think. I'm not trying to like overly, what's the word? Pollyanna. I don't have a Pollyanna view of this. Apple on toothpicks. He won't be there in 25. What position do you prioritize in round one? O-line, D-line, or other? The Alabama IOL is top of my list. Yeah, Booker is very good. I'm not going to prioritize anything beyond offensive line, defensive tackle, and wide receiver because this draft looks like it might be shaping up to where that's a pretty rich part of the draft. And as much as Nick likes to move around, I think if there's a band of wide receivers that he likes, he talks about band of players or a band of offensive linemen. There's a lot of interior offensive linemen. They're going to test really well at the combine, but they're still interior offensive linemen. People don't like drafting them real high unless they're freak shows. I think there's going to be somebody. I mean, I have yet to see a mock draft other than one where the pick didn't make any sense. And it was somebody had drafted like a tweener edge rusher. I can't remember who it was, but it didn't make any sense for DeMeco's scheme. Didn't make any sense for what the Texans team needs are or anything. But other than that, I've been pretty happy with most of the guys, and I think there's going to be they can take it can be more of a genuine best player available type of scenario, and it's always a sliding scale. It's best player available at a position of need typically is how it goes, and then I think Nick tries to trade up or down to where one of those guys that they really like is probably going to be like one of 3 wide receivers that they may like. I don't think he falls in love with individual players as much. He's got a humility about him and knows that it's a probability, like any one of these guys. If you fall in love with him too much, you're falling in love with yourself basically and your ability to prognosticate. And that's the kind of draft that it's shaping up to be. I'm all in on a lights out defense. Yeah. Shamar Stewart. That was it. I think that was it. Because he's like 245 pounds, isn't he? DeMeco. I think he's flexible on what kind of defensive tackle he wants. He just wants guys that can stop the run, but also provide push, whether they're huge or not, as long as they're not fat. I think he's cool with that. With his defensive ends, he wants guys, and really when they play wide 9 defensive end and everything, they want guys that can squeeze the edges, that can stand up to the run. I think that Will Anderson does a better job of playing the run than Nick Bosa does, and I think Will Anderson is developing into a Nick Bosa type of pass rusher. But those guys are 265 pounds or so. I don't think he doesn't want to take a defense. I would be surprised if he took a defensive end in the first round that was an undersized guy or a tweener type. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people like Matthew Golden. It wasn't Stewart. I can't remember who it was. I haven't bothered with a lot of the guys and it was somebody that goes typically in the top 15. So there are a lot of things. Oh, because he had the Texans trading up into the top 15. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of ignorant of the guys that are projected in the top 15 at this point. I don't think there's going to be a year when Nick just pulls a Will Anderson. I'm beginning to think that no matter how much talent the player has, if he isn't coached right, the plays are simply not there. Case in point, Tannehill. Case in point, Bryce Young. I mean, look at Bryce Young this year in the second half of the season. After he was benched and you thought, all right, well, this might be it for him, man. He might be a complete bust. He came back, and Dave Canales, I think, is just flat out a better coach and got more out of Bryce Young. Bryce Young obviously had one more year of experience, but it's no small thing. I mean, the old one you can always go to is if Pat Mahomes went to somebody other than Andy Reid, would he have developed into who he was as quickly as he would have? You'll never know, but it's hard to think. I mean, there's not many better situations than going into a team that was already good and then having Andy Reid as your offensive coordinator. So trust the philosophy at least, or the concept that coaching can make a big difference. The big wild card is just whether Nick Caley is actually the guy or not. So we'll see. All right. Kenneth Grant on my Madden team for 2026. Awesome. We're going out to some taco place in West Palm Beach tonight. So follow the Sports Radio 610 Instagram. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe. I'll try to get some more videos of prospects as we're here in West Palm Beach. We're going to be going to an Astros game every day this week. I hope I get to see Jose Altuve in left field. I'll do this. I know a lot of you just don't care a damn about baseball. I'll do a separate baseball YouTube at some point. So thanks, everybody. No tan yet.